Hi, everyone. My name is Josh Rutledge, and I am your host today for Aetheric Transmissions, a channeled podcast. Um, Here in just a moment, I will be putting myself into a channel state. I get there fairly quickly. Um, and then we will most likely hear from one or more members of what they've asked to be called the council. And they exist outside of our understanding of time and space. And they're just going to convey really whatever message they have to convey for that session. Typically, my voice won't change other than maybe the cadence in which I speak. And yeah, we'll just hear what they have to say. So thank you so much for those that are tuning in. If you like the podcast, or if the messages that come through resonate with you, please consider dropping a review on whatever your podcast listening platform is, whether it be Apple Podcasts or Google or whatever the case may be, Spotify. But yeah, so here we go. We're getting ready to jump into it. Thank you so much again for tuning in, and I hope that today's message is good for at least one person. If it is, my job, my purpose is fulfilled. Well, here we go. Welcome back, everybody. This is the council speaking. Two. We are making progress. Yes, we are. Often for Josh, he sees things in threes, and so hopefully by the time we get to the third recording of such, that he will feel comfortable that this is the thing that he is meant to be doing. In our first episode, we talked to you about the idea of God, source, of self, of your oversoul. Now we'd like to talk to you a little bit about the experiments that we mentioned. As we said, Source is looking for you to conduct experiments in the form of living lives to evaluate the nature of reality, to help Source answer the question of what is the purpose of life. It's rather ironic that we look at that question, the purpose of life, as such a rudimentary question, and yet we also see that Source is asking that question. So if Source, which is so much more than what we are, is asking the question, then it holds true that the information contained within the answer to that question is the fundamental building block of our reality. Right? Our reality was created to answer that question. Therefore, the answer to that question is the basis of our life. It's a little bit of a what's the word I'm looking for? Infinite loop, if you will. What is the purpose of life? The answer of which drives the question. So can it ever really be answered? Well, that's a big question to ask. Can it ever really be answered? I suspect that our life and our time here will just continue on forever, infinitely, because I don't know that that question can be answered. But it is not our choice or our decision to decide, or our agreement is that we will research, we will perform the experiments to try to understand the nature of reality. That is our arrangement with Source. Source has agreed that it would do irreparable harm to the balance if we were to simply wipe all of this life away once the answer has been found. So if we find the answer to the question, what is the purpose of life? Source will allow everything to continue as it has been for the last 14 billion years, or more, or less. So take solace in knowing that should you be the person who finds the golden ticket, so to speak, and is able to solve the question, you do not doom the rest of us, nor yourself. You are allowed then to continue in your existence. But at that point, there will be no longer a need to conduct experiments. Instead, we will all be freed to live out our life is not the right word, to live out our existence, questioning our own understanding of our reality, instead of in the service of someone else or something else. Now, we are doing that, of course, in the process of solving the answer for source. In the process of understanding the purpose of life and the nature of our reality and the nature of their reality, we are answering those questions for ourselves. But once we are released, we can fully expand and expound upon the limitations of our environment. And perhaps that's the ultimate goal, is to allow us to grow beyond the limitations that were placed upon us and to exist in the realm of source. For those that may be asking, where does source come from? It's a question that many of us has asked over the years, the many, many, many years. What created source? And if source is asking the question, what is the purpose of life? Then how advanced is source? As we alluded to in our first episode, source created us to solve the problem. When you encounter a problem, you internalize in your mind and you work through the problem. By that aspect, you have created your own fragments of yourself to help you solve your problem. So, in a way, thought and the continued thought to understand the nature of reality begets life. Source thought and created life to understand the nature of their reality. We think, and so therefore we create life to understand the nature of reality. And they think, and so on and so forth throughout time and space and whatever exists beyond those two. So all of that life will not be snuffed out in an instant, but rather it is a continuation of the understanding of the nature of reality. To some entities, somewhere, you are source. And they ask, what created you? And while I'll leave you to ponder on that for a while, let me follow up with this. Life is precious. Even though it is sometimes easily created, short-lived, and sometimes easily destroyed. All life is precious because all life serves a purpose. All life serves a purpose. You cannot say you of equal stance with your brethren and sisters around you that are also conducting the experiment. You cannot say that their life, that their existence was meant to be stopped when you ended it. You cannot say this. You must stop the violence against each other. Earth is unique in that the humans that exist on Earth fight so frequently amongst themselves. The other planets and the cosmos, they have long learned that in order to progress as a society, they don't need to fight amongst themselves. There is more than enough for everyone to have something. That everyone contributes to society. Some contribute differently, while everyone contributes differently. The problem is you have your ego that gets in the way. Your ego says, I contributed more, therefore I should get more. This is wrong. Your ego only holds you back. Your ego keeps you from progressing, evolving. And when your individual evolves, and enough individuals evolve, it will raise the consciousness of the entire human species on Earth. To put aside your ego, to realize that everyone contributes to every aspect of life. They just do it differently. If everyone behaved in exactly the same way, would anything be accomplished? Likely not. So there are some who go to work and work 80 hours a week, and look at those who maybe work 10 hours a week because they're disabled, either mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And they judge them. And they say, hey, I worked 80 hours last week. I need more. They only work 10. They don't need very much. This is wrong. A, why did you work 80 hours? Was it expected of you? Or did your ego get in the way? The most important thing as humans that you have is connections and relationships. Be careful what you put in place of those things. Work can be fulfilling, yes, but there should be a balance. Employers are learning to appreciate this balance. Employees need to learn to appreciate it as well. Find a way to be of service to others. It doesn't have to be as your profession. It could be small, but small things add up to big things, and they can really make a difference in the world. So as you think about this thing, as you think about the aspects of life, your place in it, and whether or not in your own thoughts you've created life and they look at you as source, also contemplate what it would mean to have them, this life you may have created, equally created, behave in a way where they raise some of society up and push some of society down. If you were the creator, how would you feel about your creation if they behave that way? Would you be proud of them? We've given you quite a bit to think about today, and so we will leave you with these thoughts. So until next time, we thank you again for your willingness to open your minds, your willingness to hear the messages that we have to convey, and we hope that you will return and hear more. I will now turn everything back over to Josh, and we will speak to you again. So, thank you, the council, for your messages today. Thank you for all those that tuned in and listened. Thank you again for tuning in. If this is your first time, please go back and listen to the first episode. If this is your second time, I appreciate you coming back. So I guess we'll talk next time, and so long.